بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're still studying the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And now it is official. Our Prophet has reached Medina, and now he is safe and sound. He can practice his religion freely. He can preach to people. He can teach them. He can sit and talk with them without feeling afraid of being oppressed or intimidated because of his own beliefs. The Prophet ﷺ, as you may recall, stayed for 2 weeks in Bani Amr ibn Auf, where he built the mosque of Quba. And then he went to Medina. And as he was passing by the houses of the people of Medina, he was invited to come in. And Allah Azza wa Jal ordered him not to go until the camel stops at the designated house. And so his camel did stop at the house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. People would have thought that after 13 years of being oppressed, after 13 years of being persecuted and attacked, that it is time for the Prophet ﷺ to rest. And that was not the case. Immediately, the Prophet ﷺ started by building the Masjid of Quba, where people had the chance to perform prayer in security and freedom never practiced before. The Prophet ﷺ immediately conducted meeting after meeting in the house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari to know the tribes of Medina, to get in touch with them, and to try to formulate this first capital of Islam for the nation of the Muslimin. The Prophet ﷺ sent his companion Zayd ibn Haritha and Abu Rafi' to Medina with 2 camels and 500 dirhams to bring those whom he left behind, such as the family of Abu Bakr, Abdullah ibn Abi Bakr, and his wife, and Aisha. May Allah be pleased with them all. He also sent them to bring his own daughters, Fatima and Kalthum, and his second wife after Khadija, Sauda bint Zum'ah. He also sent them to bring Usama ibn Zayd ibn Haritha and his mother Ayman. Once they all came back, then the Prophet ﷺ was faced with this community he had to rule and govern, so it would be the nucleus for the Islamic State. Our Messenger ﷺ was faced with a problem. This problem was that the Muhajirin, those who migrated, Al-Muhajirin, came without any financial resources, as they were forced to leave their properties and their belongings behind. While Al-Ansar, the people of Medina, who accepted and hosted the companions with the Prophet ﷺ, and that is why they're called Al-Ansar, had all the finance around, because they were farmers, traders, and they had things going for them. The Prophet ﷺ, faced with this situation, got a number of generous proposals from the Ansar. Some of them said, take what you want from our money, O Prophet of Allah. Take what you want from our property. Share all of it. We could care less. This is all for the sake of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ did not want to be unfair to them. And at the same time, he did not want to deprive Al-Muhajirin from a well-being life. So he came up with the idea that each one of Al-Muhajirin must be a brother to a particular man from Al-Ansar. So he divided Al-Muhajirin and gave everyone from the Ansar his share. So this man is the brother of that man. And they all went together. They became real brothers to the extent that if one of them died, the other inherited him. And they lived in the same house, and they gave them everything in order for them to live normally. I remember one story that was so beautiful, it was beyond imagination. Sa'd ibn al-Rabi', he was from the Ansar. The Prophet ﷺ told him that he is now to be the brother of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And to those who don't know Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Abdurrahman ibn Auf was a young Muslim from a very noble family, yet he was a wealthy man, and he was a merchant when he was living in Mecca. When he migrated, he had to leave everything behind, all of his fortune. Sa'd ibn al-Rabi' was one of the most wealthiest men in Medina from the Ansar. When he knew that Abdurrahman is his brother, he came to him and said, "O brother in Islam, Sa'd is proposing. It's not the other way around. Sa'd is the wealthy man, and he is proposing to this poor immigrant who just came. Usually it's the other way around. It is us, the poor, who seek the rich for some aid and assistance." Sa'd ibn Rabi' went to Abdurrahman ibn Auf and told him, "Abdurrahman, you're my brother. All the people of Medina know that I am among the richest of them. So this is my money. Take half of it, 50%. Take it, it's yours. And Medina also knows that I have 2 fine wives. Choose whomever you like. I'll divorce her. She becomes your wife." Imagine such generosity. Imagine such belief in Islam and accepting the instructions of the Prophet ﷺ on the spot without any hesitation. He did not hide anything. He could have easily said, "I'll give you 100. I'll give you 1,000. He told him, "Get half of what I own. It's yours. Half of it." And even some of us would find it easy to give away money. But to reach the level that the two love of your life, your wives, you do not tell him which one you love more. You simply tell him to choose, and I'll divorce her for you, even if she's the love of my life, just to show you that I am willing to sacrifice my whole life for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. No one would ever believe this level of generosity. And if you reverse this, let us look at what Abdurrahman ibn Auf did. If I were in Abdurrahman ibn Auf's shoes, I would have definitely taken half of the money. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he was a proud Muslim. He had the dignity, and he had the trust in Allah, and he also knew his capabilities. He told Sa'd ibn Rabi', "May Allah Azza wa Jal bless your money and bless your wives. Leave them, but I seek one favor of you. Show me where the market is." And this was a slogan to all those who seek the blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal in trade. Show me where the market is. So they told him, the market is there. He went to the market. And only a few days passed, and he came to the Prophet ﷺ with money in his hand. He wasn't a magician, and he wasn't a liar, and he would not ever cheat Muslims. But he was a good merchant. He used to buy from people on credit and then go to the others and sell them with a small percentage and pay the others. And he kept on doing this. The Prophet ﷺ saw him once with the trace of wealth. When people dye their clothing in a certain color, this means that they've reached a level of wealth. So the Prophet told him ﷺ, what happened? He told him, I got married. But mashallah, tabarakallah. Okay, what did you give the woman as a dowry? He told him, I gave her this much of gold. This much. Very little. Maybe 10 or 20 grams of gold. And then the Prophet ﷺ told him, then if this is the case, if you got married, then you should slaughter even one sheep. And this is the tradition and sunnah in Islam. Whenever a person gets married, he should gather the people to feed and to celebrate his marriage. And that would be by either slaughtering the sheep or depending on the welfare and the finance available at that time. We have a short break, and inshallah we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Now, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is running the affairs of Medina. He managed to settle the Muhajirin with the Ansar. He brought each one of the Muhajirin and gave him a brother of his own from the Ansar, which meant that the strongest thing between these two different groups was their religion.
Sheikh, as we can see in the sacrificing of the Ansar for the Muhajirin of Mecca, so what's your message for the neighbor countries that receiving the immigrants from Sudan, like Palestine or the nowadays Iraq?
The message is crystal clear. The Prophet ﷺ's teachings to us were that all the Muslims should be strong, tight, and together as if they are a building structured by brick. If you remove some of the bricks, the whole building would collapse. The Muslims must be together as a one unit. There's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ gives us an example of the Muslims in their getting together and cooperating. He is telling us it is exactly like a person's body. If one part of the body is ill, the whole body suffers with ache, with sleepiness, and with fever. So it is indeed a great role to those who were fortunate and blessed by Allah Azza wa Jal to have the financial resources. But it is indeed a responsibility. If they do not pay the price, they will be punished on the Day of Judgment for not doing their responsibility towards their brothers and sisters who were forced to migrate to them. This is understandable when we see the lack of support our brothers in Palestine are receiving from the other Muslims. The people in Palestine are starving to death. The people in Iraq are starving to death. The people in Afghanistan are starving to death. The people in Chechnya, there are no people in Chechnya anymore because of the oppression and the racist attacks against our Muslim brothers over there. And all the Muslim nation are sinful at the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal if they do not take the proper measures to support their brothers. We are all sinful at the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. When we look at the case in Medina, we would find that this was not the case. The Prophet ﷺ associated them together. Each Muhajir from the Hajireen had a brother from Al-Ansar. Yet, there were still poor people who could not support themselves. And these poor people were ranging from 50 to 100. And they used to be called Ahlu As-Suffa. These poor men had only one place to go to, and that was the Masjid of Medina. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ started to live in Medina. But to those who do not know Medina, Medina has a very strange climate to it. Whoever comes to Medina from out of it usually falls sick. And this is exactly what happened to Abu Bakr. It happened to Bilal. It happened to all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, to the extent that the Prophet ﷺ said a beautiful hadith. And this hadith translates to that no one is patient and accepting the difficult weather of Medina. Anyone who does this, Allah Azza wa Jal will make me intercede for him on the Day of Judgment and be a witness to him. So, if you go to Medina and you find this hardship because of the weather, because of the climate, because of the change of the location, if you are patient and you take this with a good heart, the Prophet ﷺ will intercede for you. He will be a shafi' and he will be a witness for you. And whoever, the Prophet says, abandons Medina looking forward to something else because he does not like Medina, the Prophet said ﷺ, that Allah will bring someone who is much and far better than he is in Medina. Which means that the Prophet ﷺ is inviting us to live, if we can, in Medina. And he's threatening those who want to leave, not to leave. Now the Prophet ﷺ saw what hardship his companions were facing with the change of weather. He prayed to Allah Azza wa Jal to take this fever and hardship from Medina and throw it to the village of Juhfa, which is the miqat for the people coming from the north of Arabia and coming from the west of Arabia, such as Africa and so on. And so this was the case. Once you look at the companions in Medina, you will find that the only bondage that kept them together was above all Islam. It was the religion that kept them all together. And that is why you find incidents where a father may attack his son because of Islam. And this was the case with Abu Bakr, trying to kill one of his sons in battle because the son was with the pagans. Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn Jarrah was trying to escape his father, but his father stood in front of him and wanted to kill him, and Abu Ubaidah had to fight his father, who was a pagan, attacking and fighting the Muslims. Also,
Kill him?
he had to kill them. This is one of the narrations that was reported. He had to kill him because otherwise he would have killed him and killed other Muslims. This is not natural. It is because you have Islam within you, and the only thing that prevails is Islam. In another incident also, Abu Hudhayfa ibn Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, one of the great companions of Islam. His father was one of the greatest enemies of Islam. When he died in the Battle of Badr, Abu Hudhayfa watched the Muslims dragging his father and throwing him in a well, and he did not move or do anything, simply because he knew that his father was an enemy of the Prophet ﷺ and of Islam. Also, Abu Aziz ibn Umayr, the brother of Mus'ab ibn Umayr, in the Battle of Badr, Mus'ab passed by his brother who was being handcuffed by one of the Muslims. And instead of Mus'ab telling his brother in Islam, take good care of him, make it easy on him, on the contrary, Mus'ab said, tighten it up, because he has a very rich mother that will pay a great ransom that the Muslims would benefit from. The brother was astonished. You are my brother from my father and mother. You're my flesh and blood. You saying this? Mus'ab told him, brother, this man who is tying you up is more precious to me at the side of Allah than you. So he is really my own brother more than you are. The things that prevailed at the time was love among Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ preached love in the sense that everyone studies Islam nowadays from the Orientals, say Islam preaches hatred, Islam preaches terrorism, and this is not the case. It's black and white. Here is the Quran, here is the Sunnah. Read it and you will find the answers to all of your problems. The Prophet ﷺ preached love. He told the Muslims, it is unlawful for you not to talk for 3 consecutive days. You may not talk for less than 3 days, but more than 3 days, you are sinful and Allah will not look at you. Why is that? Because it's human nature. We may have our differences and we may quarrel, but this may not exceed 3 days. Other than that, it would be a sin. Also, if you look at the generosity and love for the other Muslims, Uthman ibn Affan gets a caravan of 1,000 camels with oil, flour, food on it. The merchants of Medina come to him and say, we would like to buy it. He said, well, I've been offered more than this. They 5 times pay him the amount and he still says that I've been paid more. I've been paid by Allah Azza wa Jal more than 10 times of it, and I bear you witness that the 1,000 camel with everything on it is for the Muslims and the poor ones among them. True. I'm afraid that this is all the time we have for today's program. So until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.